Good morning. Hello YouTube. I wanted to make a quick video here on my Traxxas Maxx. It's a beautiful green one. It's a white Max. It's got the white Max on it. Running a 1515 motor. Castle Creation Monster Mamba Monster X 8S ESC. It's running on 4S at the moment. The fan is unplugged because, believe it or not, I'm running the smallest spur gear and the biggest pinion on here. 46T on the spur, 27T on the pinion gear, and this thing is running cool. So sometimes I'll plug it in. It's nice and quiet. The ESC only turns on the fan when needed, and because of the new Cyro drive or Cryo drive or whatever it's called, it doesn't even get on at all. Plus I'm running it on 4S instead of 8S. Here's my setup. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the tires. These are belted tires. I've been through quite a few set of tires, and I think I have found the best tires for my setup. Some people may differ. This is what I like. So for the street, I have these Sweep RC racing tires, really nice. These are the on-road tires. They're called the Road Crushers. Really nice belted tire. Slightly heavier than stock. And then for dirt and your regular bashing, I have the Terrain Crushers. This is my second pair of these. I have them with the black wheels as well. They're really nice if you hate ballooning on these setups here, this high-speed setups. This is more of a high-speed basher than it is a regular basher. So I have modified the differential, oil, and a couple other things. For example, the center differential here is running at the moment a little small combination of 100K and the 20 million silicone oil to make it slightly softer. It still will pop wheelies on the man, but if I wanted to keep the nose down, I can do that at any moment as I please as well, which is nice for this setup. So let's talk suspension. Right now I don't have the battery in here, but I have the suspension set up so that when the battery is inside of this thing, the suspension has nice droop and spring. What I mean by that is that basically the suspension is with the battery and the body on right at the 50% travel of this thing, allowing the springs to work upward and also downwards. From the factory, the truck comes really high up, and it doesn't, as I lift here, it doesn't have any more travel. So it's always nice to keep it to a 50% travel so that if there's any bumps or inconsistencies on the road or the grass, the suspension can travel both ways and do the weight transfer as it needs to. One thing to note is that I have the different rates on the springs because of the white Max. The back springs go in the front, and then the ones that come in the box in the white Max kit get installed in the back. So I have it slightly lower in the front so that when I hit the gas or when I hit throttle, it likes to squat from the back. Usually in any setup, making it lower in the back than in the front, making you lose a little bit of steering. So what I did to compensate for that in the bike world is called the zag, which is where you have at high speeds the car running leveled so that you can apply steer as if you were actually not applying throttle. With the Traxxas Maxx, if you are going to upgrade tires, it's very likely that you will end up with heavier tires than the stock ones, and the stock servo really gave up within 2 or 3 days of installing not this type of tires. I had another setup of Proline belted tires, 3.8s. Anyways, long story short, they were too big, but I guess you live and learn. I got me this ProTech RC brushless servo. It's waterproof, super high torque. It runs at high voltage. Right now, I think I have it at 7.4 or 8 volts. I'm not sure. I think it's 7.4, 7.5 is where I have it set up at the moment. Running the XC90 here. Now, the only reason why I did this mod right here, or this part right here, is because while I was bashing this screw, which is part of the motor mount, 1 out of 3 in a triangular way from the bottom, this one, and then the one over here, used to come unloose all the time on landings and stuff like that until it's stripped. So I don't really do a lot of aluminum in my builds, but I got me that just because it's a nice metal thread there. I can apply Loctite and move on. So far so good. As far as shocks, this is the stock shock. Stock cap never came undone on me. It's always been great. I don't have to worry about that. This is a nice durable truck. In the rear, I'm running 80 weight. In the front, I'm running 50 weight. I allow weight transfer, so I go a little bit softer in the front to allow the front end to pop up a little bit during acceleration and allow weight transfer to the back, giving me more traction. The downside of that is that while you apply brakes, it'll also squat on you in the front. So you would have to learn how to drive the machine in order to avoid that from happening, or weigh your options and decide whether you want to do this or not. Rear diff is running at the moment, right in here, 100K. And in the front is running 50K. So far, I like the setup. It's an ever-changing thing, so differentials and I never really commit. We keep changing them because I guess you never really truly find the right setup. Wherever you run it, it's going to require possibly a different setup depending on how serious you take this hobby. For some people, it's life. One thing to note here is the adjustments on the suspension, other than the preload adjustments, is this one position here could be changed to the outside position hole, and this will give you a firmer suspension, helping you out with the squatting on the rear. And you know how it likes to bottom out, so it'll help with that. It'll still bottom out, but not all the time, so that really helps a lot. If you have bottoming out issues on the rear, a lot of people tend to concentrate on working on the rear to get rid of that, but a good way to be able to get rid of that would actually be to enable more weight transfer to the front when the car lands. So if you make your front springs softer as the car lands, it will squat a little bit more from the front, transferring some of this weight that way. Therefore, the front springs will actually be helping you out with some of the rear weight. Keep that in mind, guys, because it's a nice tip. If you have that issue, you can just loosen up the preload just a tiny little bit. I usually like to go 1 notch at a time, so if I have it there, I would just go like 3 millimeters to each side and then test drive it. A little bit of adjustment goes a long way. Try to avoid going based on measurements here, because as you come up with your own idea of what the space that you think you may want to have there, you may actually overdo it. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed my video. I don't really record a lot of videos, but if you guys find this useful, I can go ahead and record more videos to provide the information that is lacking on YouTube. It seems like there's not a lot of information regarding this specific model other than the average stuff. Oh, I forgot to point out another thing. This mod right here. Every time I get a new body, I get a marker and mark it here, trace it and cut it. Why? It's gonna enable you to disable the fans inside this thing because you're creating a new ram here. You're basically opening up a passage into the car itself. So speed is gonna be your friend, and you're also enabling every time you crash for the bumper to squeeze inside the body rather than crushing the whole thing and messing the whole thing up. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoy the video and subscribe. Bye.